Good day, everyone. In this video, we'll be talking about three important concepts that are deeply connected with one another: language, culture, and society. These three are not just academic terms, they're part of our everyday lives. The way we speak, the traditions we follow, and how we interact with others are all shaped by the language we use, the culture we belong to, and the society we live in. In this group presentation, we will be discussing the link between these three and how they influence each other in numerous ways. First, we'll look into the link between language and culture, how language reflects our culture, helps preserve traditions, and shapes our identity. Then we'll explore the connection between language and society, how language functions within social structures, how it reflects class, gender, and power, and how it varies across different groups. Lastly, we'll dive into the relationship between culture and society, how culture shapes social norms, behaviors, and beliefs, and how society influences the development and spread of culture. Before we look into the link between language and culture, let's define first what is language and culture. Let's begin. Language is a system of communication used by a particular community or country. It is made up of words, gestures, symbols. It's how people express ideas, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and identity. It's also a tool for learning, storytelling, and social interaction. Next, culture. Culture is a way of life shared by a group of people. It includes beliefs, customs, values, traditions, food, art, and behaviors that a group of people pass down from one generation to another. Language and culture are intrinsically connected. Language is not just a tool for communication, it's a vessel that carries cultural values, beliefs, and traditions. According to Britannica, culture is largely transmitted through language, making language one of the key components in the preservation and dissemination of cultural heritage. That's why when we talk about language, we should not just think of it as a tool to communicate, because it's more than that. Language reflects our identity, our beliefs, our way of life. It is deeply tied to the culture of the people who speak it. Now, let's talk about how language reflects culture. The words and expression used in a language can reveal what is important in a society. For example, in the Philippines, we have different words for rice like palay, anhas, gas, kanin, cook, and so on. That's because rice is such an important part of our daily lives and culture. In Japan and Korea, there are different levels of politeness used in language depending on who you're talking to, like elders, strangers, or friends. That reflects how much they value respect and social harmony. So, this shows that structure and style of a language can give us clues about the culture behind it. Next, language is a way to pass on culture. Through language, we share our traditions, beliefs, and values. Think about folktales, riddles, proverbs. For example, one of the proverbs here in the Philippines, which ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makararating sa paroroonan. This proverb is not just a saying, it carries the lesson and morals of our culture. It only those, even lullabies, prayers, and daily expressions can teach children what is good, what is bad, what is valued, and what is feared in their society or community. Without language, we wouldn't be able to preserve our traditions or pass them on to the future generation. Lastly, language helps shape cultural identity. The language we speak connects us to a specific group. It gives us a sense of belonging. That's why when people lose their language, like some indigenous communities, they often say they're also losing a piece of who they are. On the other hand, keeping a native language alive helps strengthen pride and connection to one's roots. Aside from that, the use of native languages strengthens connections to cultural roots and heritage. In the Philippines, the diversity of dialects across regions allows individuals to express their unique backgrounds, reinforcing their cultural identities. Among Filipinos living abroad, speaking Tagalog or their dialect helps them feel closer to home. It's a reminder of who they are and where they came. To summarize, language and culture are strongly connected. Language reflects what a culture values, it transmits important knowledge and traditions, and also plays a big part in shaping our identity. That's why studying a language also means learning about the culture behind it. And understanding a culture means listening to the language spoken within it. Thank you. And now let's move on to the next topic, which will focus on the link of language and society.
Let's talk about the link between language and society. I'm going to discuss three main points on how the language and society are related. So, how the language and society are connected to one another? Let me discuss it with you. Language and society are closely connected. Language is not just a way to communicate, it's how people interact, share ideas, and build relationships. The way we speak often depends where we are, who we're with, and what group we belong to. It reflects our culture, background, and even our social status. At the same time, society shapes how language is used, how it changes, and what words or styles are considered normal. In short, language helps people live and work together. It also shows who they are in their community. And now, I'm going to discuss the three major aspects of the link between language and society. The preservation of culture and history, language as a form of social behavior, and language as a reflection of social identity. So the first one is language preserves culture and history. Language carries the history, beliefs, values, and traditions of a society. Through storytelling, literature, songs, and conversations, people pass down important cultural knowledge from one generation to another. When a language dies, when a language dies out, much of that culture's identity and wisdom can be lost. So let me explain it to you. Language helps keep a culture's history and traditions alive. People use it to share stories, songs, and ideas that teach the next generation about their values and way of life. When a language disappears, many important parts of that culture, like its belief and wisdom, can be lost too. That's why keeping languages alive is so important for protecting culture. Let's proceed to the second idea, which language as a social behavior. Language is a social act. People use language to interact, express feelings, share thoughts, ask for help, and build relationships. Every conversation, message, or speech reflects the social environment where it happens. For example, people might speak formally at work, but casually with friends. Meaning, language is more than just words. It's social behavior. People use language every day to connect with others, share thoughts and emotions, ask questions, and form relationship. The way we speak often changes depending on the social situation. For example, someone might use formal language in a workplace meeting, but speak casually when chatting with friends. This shows that language reflects the environment and the relationship between people, making it a key part of how we interact in society. The last idea is language reflects social identity. The way we speak often reveals where we come from, what social group we belong to, and even our status in society. Different regions, ethnic groups, and age groups often have their own ways of speaking, including accents, slang, and expressions. So let me explain it to you. Language is a strong indicator of social identity. The way people speak can reveal their regional background, such as where they were raised or currently live. Accents and dialects are key markers that help identify these regional differences. Language also reflects cultural and ethnic identity through specific expressions and vocabulary. Age plays a role as well, with younger and older generation often using different slang or speech patterns. In addition, language can indicate social status based on grammar, word choice, and pronunciation. These elements often reflect levels of education or profession. Overall, the way we speak not only connects us to others but also shows who we are and where we belong in society. Based in my discussion, that is how language and society are connected to each other.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's discussion on the topic How Culture is Linked with Society. So, this topic is essential because it helps us understand how we live, interact, and evolve as human beings in communities. But before we start, let me discuss to you first the objectives of this discussion. By the end of this discussion, you will be able to understand the connection between culture and society, identify the role of social norms, values, and institutions in shaping cultural behavior, recognize how cultural identity contributes to social unity and cohesion, appreciate real-life examples that show the interplay of culture and social structure. Now, let's begin by defining the terms of culture and society. Culture is refers to the shared beliefs, values, customs, traditions, language, and symbol that member of society use to interact with their world and with each other. Society is a group of people who share a common geographic space and culture and who interact with each other based on shared norms and institutions. Now, let's explore how these two concepts are deeply connected through three important subtopics. Now, let's proceed to first subtopics social norms and values. Culture shape the unwritten rules that govern how individuals behave in society. There are called social norms. Norms can be as simple as saying po and opo. In the Philippines, to show respect or removing your shoes before entering someone's home in Japan. These norms are based on a deeper cultural values such as respect for elders, hospitality, or cleanliness. Over time, these norms become standards, expectations within a society, guiding behavior and helping people interact harmoniously. For example, the Filipino culture. The concept of bayanihan encourage community cooperations. These values promote social responsibility and strengthen social ties, especially in rural areas. Think about how differently society would function if everyone had different expectations for behavior. Cultural norms provide that much needed consistency and predictability. Now let's proceed to second subtopic, cultural institutions and social structure. Culture is preserved and transmitted through institutions like the family, education system, religion, and government. These institutions not only reflect culture, but also reinforce it by teaching values and organizing behavior in society. For example, family teaches children basic manners, language, and customs. The school system teach civic value, discipline, and shared history. Religious institutions influence ethical behaviors and moral decision making. These institutions shape the social structure to organize patterns of relationship and roles in society. For instance, the hierarchical respect structures in many Asian societies can be seen both in families and in workplace, showing how cultural values are embedded into social life. This demonstrates how deeply culture shape how we organize ourselves socially and how we function as a community. Now, let's proceed to the last subtopic, cultural identity and social cohesion. One of the most powerful links between culture and society is the development of cultural identity. This is a person's sense of belonging to a group influenced by shared language, customs, values, and historical experience. A strong example is national holiday and festival, such as Sinulog Festival in Cebu, Lunar New Year in China, Carnival in Brazil. These events aren't just entertainment, they reinforce cultural identity and strengthen social cohesion by bringing people together in shared celebration. Even in multicultural societies, respecting and celebrating diverse cultures helps prevent social divisions and promotes unity. When people feel connected through a common culture, they're more likely to cooperate, resolve conflict peacefully, and support one another. To sum it up all, culture and society are inseparable. Culture gives society its identity and rules. Society, in turn, provides the framework in which culture is lived, taught, and transformed. As individuals, understanding these links help us respect differences, celebrate diversity, and contribute positively to the social fabric we are all part of. To wrap it up, we've seen how language, culture, and society are closely connected. Miss Segovia showed us how language reflects cultures, passes it down through generations, and shape our cultural identity. Miss Tupas explained how language helps preserve history, act as a form of social behavior, and reflects who we are in society. And in my part, we look at how culture and society are linked through social norms, institution, and shared identity. Together, these discussions underscore that language, culture, and society are not separate entities, but deeply interconnected forces. Language acts as the bridge linking culture and society, shaping, preserving, and expressing the core of a human experience. Understanding these connections is vital in fostering respect, inclusions, and unity in increasingly globalized world. Thank you for watching, and I hope this discussion helped you see how language, culture, and society are fundamentally linked. Don't forget to reflect on how your own language, culture, and society shape your daily actions and community life. Hope you learned something.